If you've been watching me for long enough, one of my reoccurring opinions is my general dislike for long-running shows, which more often than not tend to be shonen. Despite having an ungodly amount of time to fill because of how these shows are produced, both in anime and manga form, particular kinds of status quos are formed that the plot of the story keeps going back to again and again without too much variation. We may learn more about the characters as time passes, but rarely do we actually get to watch these characters grow or change beyond what they started with. But My Hero Academia is a series that, to me, has been proving you can have a very good shonen series, as of yet, without a solid conclusion, and still be just as entertaining as any story that has already had its ending decided. Ladies, gentlemen, and others, my name is Arcada, and welcome to Glass Reflection. Today we are looking at the second season of the Studio Bones anime, My Hero Academia. Let's jam!
We are fucking superstars.
Now, initially, I thought that this superhero premise was just another cliche, and the only thing keeping it interesting was the characters.
I'm gonna win.
I, like many others I think, are getting close to suffering from genre fatigue as far as superhero stories go. And to still keep that engaging, a story involving them has to really step it up. But now with all of that established, the show literally opened the doors to the public society with its sports festival arc. And what we got was a whole lot of other smaller stories that paint a much more interesting picture compared to just Deku alone. My Hero Academia has always been trying to answer the question of what makes a hero. And in Season 1, we got to see Deku as a character try to be one answer for this, with a hero being more of a mindset rather than a trait or quirk, as it were, that you were born with. But now the show has taken the time to reintroduce several of its characters in ways that attempt to answer the same question, but with different spins on it. Not only that, but we get to experience firsthand that being a hero in this world truly is a profession, and that it has its own industry driven by marketing and presentation. However, this leads into the hero killer arc, which turns this all on its head by highlighting how this society has actually deviated from the classical definition of a hero. No longer just being someone who fights for their ideals despite any risk and material costs. The fact that UA's motto is go beyond might even seem hypocritical in this society, and so we have a man called Stain who sees the modern hero as fake and wishes to return to the days of old by any means necessary.
They must all be purged.
As of Season 2, I can more confidently say that My Hero Academia is less of a copy of, say, Sky High, and more of a skillful combination of various kinds of stories gone by. Some people know superhero movies as these lighthearted, maybe even campy, yet uplifting experiences, such as the Maguire Spider-Man films, and some of the more recent Marvel stuff. Though Spider-Man in particular was a big inspiration for Hiro Aka's original author, Kohei Horikoshi, and the biggest element he seemed to take from those films was the idea that people with exceptional powers still have mundane problems, just opposing the ability to help others with the inability to help yourself. But that's not all there is. All Might himself is the spitting image of Superman, with his musical theme being almost an emulation of the John Williams score.
Fear not, citizens! Hope has arrived!
There's a notion of heroes and villains inadvertently creating each other in a cycle, which is classic Batman. Even the intensely cynical outlook of Birdman, a film that makes out superhero iconography to be cultural genocide, is addressed in the hero killer Stain himself. He hates the idea that heroes act as pacifiers to society and believes there to be more noble ways to use power than for superficial status. My Hero Academia proves that superheroes aren't dead, not just because it's a popular superhero show, but because within the show, the idea of what it means to be a hero is constantly changing. The society is held up by the pillar that is All Might, but right now he is losing his sturdiness. So with the status quo in peril, every single hero has equal chance of being the solution. Yet they work in a system where their ideals are seen as products. It has all the optimism of those early superhero stories, but also the critical outlook of more recent ones all at once. Something that feels similar but is genuinely new, making it a show to get deeply immersed in. This is something that I think so many of my favorite anime are able to get right. It presents a cast of essentially cartoon characters, but gives them a sense of relatability and personality that explains said cartooniness. That's what makes it feel like they're real, essentially creating a connection between our world and something incredible and make-believe. And My Hero Academia is the first show in a while that's given me that feeling. I have friends getting invested in this series who I never would have expected to like this show. They're not into action or superheroes, but for some reason, My Hero Academia really appeals to them. More importantly, I think, is the fact that in My Hero Academia, there really isn't a thing as the status quo. The series never allows things to get stale through repetition or similarity. If any story in it is similar to something, it's only to the other superhero narratives that came before it, but never to itself. For me, Bones has been quite good with this in years past, but even though their previous outings have been some of the highlights in anime that I have watched, they have a habit of adapting uncompleted works and then going on their own to finish it off. Most people have conflicting opinions on this. Like, on the one hand, we actually get endings, and in most cases, they aren't actually half bad. The downside is that they aren't really the true ending, so to speak, even if they are approved by the original creators. So it depends on if you care about such things. As it is, we don't know if that's something that they'll end up doing with My Hero Academia. At the moment, there is plenty more story that's available from the manga. But as always, they'll probably catch up to it eventually, or cut it off early. Though it's worth waiting for if we have to, because it comes as no surprise that Bones did a phenomenal job with the visuals. The amazing thing about My Hero Academia's visuals is that the characters look like they've been lifted straight from the manga and put into motion. In many situations when manga like this get adapted, the characters will receive a slight redesign to help suit the animated medium depending on what the top dog wants. But My Hero Academia's character designer and animation director is Yoshihiko Umakoshi, who worked on Mushishi, Casshern Sins, and Ojamajo Doremi. I don't know what kind of water he drinks, but a lot of the time there's so little difference between his designs and the original illustrations, yet the characters are able to move so naturally without restraint. In fact, there's only one character who I don't think made the transition to the anime as smoothly as everyone else, and that's one of the show's antagonists, Tomura Shigaraki. For a guy whose costume is inspired by body horror and has such a despicable disposition, the addition of color, voice acting, and even movement just made it feel like there's something missing from him. In the manga, the mess of his hair and worn-out skin are given so much more detail, and the intense line work only gets diluted with color. His Japanese voice actor is Koki Uchiyama, who I'm so used to hearing as stock bored characters that it didn't leave much of an impact. In the dub, he's played by Eric Vale, who tried something different, making it sound like he's being choked by the hands around his throat. But even that didn't quite do it for me. So again, the gaps left by the manga do him more justice in both appearance and sound. However, this season served to alleviate one of my biggest problems from season 1, that being the large size of its main cast. Class 1A alone has 20 students and several teachers to develop in its initial 13 episodes, so we only really had time for Deku, Bakugo, All Might, and a little bit of Ida for good measure. However, the tournament-style setup that puts individuals in the spotlight has allowed basically all of the background class members to come into their own. Many a times in this tournament, we either had moments or even entire episodes dedicated to a character or two that were incredibly personal and engrossing, either for their quirky charm, the shock of losing, general badassery, or a good old-fashioned backstory.
There's no way I can know what you've gone through, or why you're even here. But right now, stop screwing around! If you want to reject your father, fine. But you don't have the right to be number one if you aren't going to use your full power!
We may not have seen equal development for all of them, but from what we have seen and in the manner in which the show has revealed it to us, gives me confidence that basically every one of these kids is just as interesting as Deku. Sure, they all come from different backgrounds, but the struggle to become your own hero is universal.
That's what I mean when I say I am here. Only you can decide to become a hero, no one else.
This show definitely treats its characters with respect. Its appeal lies in that it's inherently optimistic, but adequately self-aware. It knows that the main hero will save the day in the end because we know that. But as for everything in between, it's anyone's guess. Deku is a character who never gives up and always looks towards tomorrow, much like Edward Elric. He has scars that he needs to live with forever, and he knows that he never would have gotten anywhere without the help of others. There's just so much to talk about in this series, from its lore, world building, social structure, familiar values, themes, deeper allusions, cross-cultural influences, and a wide cast of characters who all get adequate development.
How do I live? How do I dream? Sometimes wanna sing the blues. Must tighten my reins, but hard to obey. You know I'm not perfect enough. How do I dream? How do I scream?
Now, back when I reviewed Season 1, I never gave the show a proper rating, mostly because I don't like giving a rating for shows that have uncompleted stories. This time around, however, I think the show at this point, despite its lack of an ending at the moment, deserves a rating regardless. So, for all of the heart that we have been presented this season, I award My Hero Academia with the rating of Certified Frosty, a rating only for the best of the best, and those shows too important to ignore. The latter of which being what My Hero Academia falls under. It revitalized my interest in a genre that I thought I was tired of. Not an easy feat, and even though it's far from over story-wise, what we've gotten so far is worth the high rating. If, for whatever reason, you haven't watched the series, there will be streaming links down in the description, but more importantly, the alternate anime recommendations. First off, the series you might have seen because it also has Academia in the title. Little Witch Academia. It's an anime that also follows the mindset of characters with powers at a school, but in this case, it's less superpowers and more Harry Potter magic, basically. Second recommendation goes to another Bones series from last year, Mob Psycho 100. It's a series that is almost the opposite of Hero Aka in many ways, featuring a hero whose powers cause him to be ostracized rather than his lack thereof. And between the two, you should hopefully find something to your liking. And that's it from me. Thank you for taking the time to watch this video. I hope you enjoyed it. As always, I would like to thank my patrons for supporting these videos because without them, they would not be possible. More specifically, I would like to thank Robert Chumzai, Calhoun Boy, Siri Yamiko, Victor Ekmark, Joshua Garcia, Hedril Leon, and Bing Theo for being especially awesome. And until next time, ladies, gentlemen, and others, stay frosty.
実を切り裂いた